Following a hectic USA Grand Prix that has well and truly ignited the championship fight, the Formula 1 circus has eagerly travelled to Montreal, Canada for round 12 of the 2020 season. All eyes were on Audi, who for the first time in a while looked to be the outright fastest team, with their new engine parts from the USA working well down the long straights here at Canada. However, following a torrid race in the US, aarava looks to have the bit between his teeth to try and spoil the party for the German team. And Ferrari won't be too far behind, with Aarava Ben stating that they need to push to win every race left in 2020, despite it looking unlikely that their drivers can feature in the title scrap. At this moment, Vettel's departure is looking increasingly likely, with his agent being reported to have seen around various other teams' motorhomes. Meanwhile, McLaren have come to Canada, labelling this year as a write-off, to being consistently one of the top two teams for the past 5 years. This season they have fallen off and now find themselves 7th in the standings and scratching their heads as to how they fight back. So now let's take a look at the starting grid for the 2020 Canadian Grand Prix. This is how the 22 drivers line up today. Carlos Sainz snatched pole position in the dying embers of qualifying with a 1:11.8 in his Audi to a very close margin of aarava behind, with 0.03 behind in his Jaguar, whilst in P3 is Sergio Perez 0.032 behind. 2,000 separate the second and third place drivers, with Antonio Giovinazzi line up in 4th, 0.04 behind, while Stoffel Vandoorne just underneath for 10th with a 1:11.934, lines up in 5th, with Daniel Ricciardo, the Aussie, lining up in P6 in his McLaren. The 4th row looks like this. It's the two Haas's, Linus Stern in 7th and 8th, Nico Hulkenberg winning the inter-team battle between himself and Romain Grosjean, whilst rounding out the top 10 is Kevin Magnussen in the second McLaren, with Sebastian Vettel lining up in P10 to round out the top 10 for the grid, whilst the 6th row looks like this. Charles Leclerc, the leading Alfa Romeo, on the grid in 11th position with the leading monster rehab car of Mick Schumacher in P12. The 7th row looks like this, with Max Verstappen in the leading Mercedes in P13, and in the leading Red Bull is Pierre Gasly in P14, whilst directly behind him is Pascal Wehrlein in P15, directly behind his teammate of Max Verstappen, whilst the second monster rehab car of Sophia Flores lines up in P16. Directly behind them is Antonio Fuoco in the second Alfa Romeo, and Sergio Seti Camara in P number 18, the Brazilian having a fairly okayish qualifying down in P18, whilst Lando Norris is in the second Williams and Nico Kari in the second Red Bull, whilst the final row looks like this, with Valtteri Bottas and Esteban Ocon in the final Renaults. Poor qualifying from them, but that's the grid for Canada.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver career mode, episode number 12 today for season 6 at the Canadian Grand Prix. If you did miss the last episode at USA, absolute cracker of an episode, really hectic race, so do go be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. And it meant big things for the championship. For the first time in a while now, for a couple of rounds, it really did change the championship for the top flight, because now you can see Carlos Sainz going into this round is leading the Drivers' Championship by only 2 points there to Stoffel Vandoorne, and I'm only 1 behind him in third place now. So we moved from first to third. We've qualified really well today right now to be on the front row with Carlos Sainz, unable to get that elusive second pole position of my career in my drivers so far, but we're there on the second we're there on the first row, at least in second place, alongside the man who leads the championship now, with Vandoorne a little bit ways down the order. So looking forward to this one. Canada, always one of my favorite tracks on the F1 games as a whole, so hopefully we can go well here and maybe even try and get the jump on Sainz into turn 1 potentially. We'll have to see. We've also got Perez and Giovinazzi close behind, the two Ferrari cars pushing very hard to try and maybe win the rest of the season if they can. But we're going to go to 5 red lights to the Canadian Grand Prix and find out this afternoon as 5 lights go out, and we're underway here for 35 laps around Montreal. We've got a good start there as we climb up the gears, trying to go 3 wide momentarily as Perez sends it down the inside of Carlos Sainz. Perez kind of puts off his teammate a little bit, so into turn 2 we've got the lead of this Grand Prix so far, but Sainz going to get the traction, use the Audi engine to really good effect. He's going to swoop it around the outside of us. We're going to have to leave him the room, and he gets it up into first place once again. We have to sell for second. Giovinazzi gets up into third place, so he's done well to jump Perez after initially it looked like Perez was kind of looking like going for a huge dive dive bomb into P1. He now finds himself back down in P4, and now I've got Giovinazzi right up my tail there. And in the background there, you can see, I think that's Sebastian Vettel making a diving move on the Haas cars and the McLaren cars. We now get a good exit off that hairpin corner to try and slipstream Carlos Sainz if we can. Obviously, no DRS yet, just pure slipstream, but up into rich mix at this point, obviously, and we'll try our best to make a move into the chicane. It's going to be very, very tricky. Going to have to be very, very close. Leave Carlos the space on the left-hand side. Oh, a little bit of contact made there on the front left, and the hand of anger goes up in the cockpit there, so it's already getting quite frosty with Sainz already. It's not even the end of lap 1, but we cross the line for lap 2, and now we can see Giovinazzi and Perez going for a dive bomb move. It's 3 wide momentarily. Perez on the inside. There's been contact made there with Giovinazzi sent into a half spin there, and he's used our front left to stop that spin, and now he finds himself into P2, and I've lost it down to P4. So very, very unfortunate stuff there. Looked like Perez made some contact with Giovinazzi and tried to once again go down that inside of turn 1 that he tried initially on lap 1, but we look at a replay now and calm things down a little bit to look at what happened with Sebastian Vettel. I did mention it briefly that he made a dive bomb, and it was a dive bomb on 2 cars here, on the Haas cars of, I think that's Romain Grosjean, and overtakes Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren Honda. So really good stuff there for Vettel. And then the next lap there, this was whilst we are overtaking Sainz, I believe. He overtakes what is the next Haas car of Nico Hülkenberg, and then we look at a replay of that 3 wide moment there, and you can see from the replay camera, oh yeah, that is exactly what I thought. Perez just sent it, got his nose in there way too much, sent Giovinazzi into a half spin, and then unfortunately for us, Giovinazzi used our car to basically straighten himself up there, which is very unfortunate. But now Perez has a look at Giovinazzi. He's slowed himself down there, lost a lot of momentum and grip through that final chicane. So now can we try and overtake him as Sainz at the fastest lap of the Grand Prix? We'll try and dive down the inside into turn 1 of lap 3. Very, very close stuff there. We'll leave him the room, go round the outside. Meanwhile, you can see Stoffel Vandoorne and Sebastian Vettel closely following behind, trying to sniff around for a move if they can. We're still side by side with the Mexican. Can we hang it around the outside? Yes, we can. We'll swoop it through the first chicane, and then you can see behind there, I think just in the background, that was a McLaren going around the outside of the Haas car there of Nico Hülkenberg. I think Hülkenberg successfully has actually defended from Daniel Ricciardo there in the background of that shot. But meanwhile, we're still moving on, trying to maybe catch up to Giovinazzi, but we've got more things to worry about because Perez is definitely not away from us yet. He's still gaining on us in all the straights. The Audi engine working so well this afternoon. It's almost like the Audi of 2019, really. We haven't seen them being this quick down a straight so far this season, but now it really is coming into its own. So down to the hairpin, we're defending to the inside line. Perez swoops it around the outside. He's got it, actually. He's got the traction there, so we'll have to try our best to hang it through, but Perez tries to squeeze us quite cheekily onto the grass. We're going to hang back and get the DRS off him, slipstream, and Vettel and Vandoorne at the same time are going side by side behind me there. So it's all kicking off here. 4 cars in the space of literally less than half a tenth there as we go very, very close with Perez round the outside through the chicane, and as we go on towards lap 4, we're still side by side. Giovinazzi now setting the pass out of the Grand Prix, so the Italian is getting the bit between his teeth to catch the Spaniard as we go down the inside now into turn 1 on lap 4, round the outside once again, the second time lucky hopefully, as we try and find the traction. This time it looks like we will just about have that. Yes, we will, and we're up into 3rd place, and now hopefully we can try and keep this 3rd place and push on to try and catch Giovinazzi. And as we do that on the next lap, we've got Sebastian Vettel down the main straight with DRS wide open, trying to make a move on Perez then to get up into what would be a 4th place for him down the inside. He's made it work very beautifully there. Very simple move there for the German, and he's up the order, and he's definitely, just like his teammate, got the bit between his teeth to try and catch up to the top flight. So both Ferrari cars very much on it, just like Arriva Bene said before this weekend, to try and aim to win every single race left of this season, even if they are not really in the championship. And now we've got an engine failure for Kevin Magnussen on the same lap into the next first sector. He parks it up there on the left-hand side, it looks like, and that is his race over, up in smoke and flames there for Magnussen. Such a shame, actually, because he was ahead of Ricciardo then, as Ricciardo went down the order after being overtaken by the 2 Haas cars there. So very, very much a shame there for the Dane. And now we move on to looking at Giovinazzi now. This is looking at the other Audi in this race of Carlos Sainz, and Antonio goes down the inside. A very similar move, carbon copy move, in fact, of the one Sebastian just did a lap ago. And Antonio Giovinazzi now leads the Canadian Grand Prix, and we dive into the pits at the end of lap 6 now for a bit of an earlier pit stop compared to most. Once again, like we have with the previous 2 2 seasons here at Montreal, trying an undercut strategy. The tyre wear is very high, apparently more so for me than maybe others. You saw on the right hand side on the heads up display there just before we enter the pit lane, my rear tyres absolutely cooked there at the moment. So we're on for a set of yellow wall soft tyres, the hardest compound available this weekend, so going a little bit longer on this stint, but it definitely does look like I may be having to go for a more aggressive strategy compared to most. But the car seems to have the pace as we go round the outside just about of Esteban Ocon there in the Renault car. He's going to stick it down the inside though, so we still have to give him the room on the chicane there. You can see up ahead a whole gaggle of cars there of Sophia Flores, and then one of the Williams cars of Lando Norris. I think that hit the wall actually, so just about managed to keep out of absolutely breaking his race and going out of the race there, because that was it looked like quite a hefty impact on the sidewall on the right hand side. But now as we move into the hairpin, diving down the inside of the young German who actually won last round's Grand Prix, obviously the USA Grand Prix, a fantastic result for her. Meanwhile here now at Canada, a little bit of a lackluster Grand Prix for her. She's stuck behind the Williams car and the Mercedes car as it ever changes every single race in MyDriver. You can never count on your laurels of you being there exactly where you were from the previous race. And now we close up to Pascal Wehrlein now, who's been overtaken by Lando Norris. So the young Brit is doing really quite well there in the Williams car to get in the mix there and get the elbows out. So now can we try and overtake our former teammate in the Mercedes car down the inside into turn 1, hit the apex, squeeze him out, and that's a pretty easy job for us into turn 1. So you can see we do have the pace, we have the grip in the tyres obviously now, fresh set of tyres, so I don't think that aggressive strategy necessarily is going to be a hindrance to us. I mean, in previous seasons it's worked out for us being very aggressive. You know, really this season actually, if you think about it, we've been way more conservative than we have done in the past. And now we go round the outside to turning into the inside for the next corner on that chicane, trying to overtake Lando Norris. Very close stuff there. We should have the speed down this main straight there up into Rich Mix, and we should have the inside line now, so this should be a pretty easy move into the next chicane. And we're up into 15th place now, and we've got a gap to what will be Seth Camara on this set of ultra soft tyres. We've got a lot of cars in this Grand Prix still going a lot longer than I am on ultra soft, so this is going to be very interesting to see how powerful the undercut may be. I mean, look at that, there's only a train just up ahead the road of Antonio Fuoco trying to overtake Max Verstappen here, it looks like. So he's got DRS wide open, so the Alfa Romeo going well once again in this Grand Prix. He's overtaken, and not only him, it's Mick Schumacher down the inside as Fuoco dives in the pits, and it's Schumacher and Verstappen going side by side. They hold each other up, and not only themselves, but also the second Alfa Romeo car, and also a Red Bull car of, I think that may be Pierre Gasly or Nico Carey, one of the two. We've got a huge amount of traffic that we need to navigate as fast as we can, not held up here as Verstappen goes side by side with Seth Camara. It was actually Leclerc that came into the pits. Fuoco stayed out with Gasly. As you can see there, Vettel just comes out of the pit lane, and so that means Vettel's technically jumped us in the pit stops actually. So Vettel's made the overcut work so well for him. 3 laps later he's come into the pits and he's overtaken us as we go down the inside now of Pierre Gasly, our former teammate from the Red Bull days, as he hit the wall just like Norris did literally just a lap ago. But now we'll try and chase after Sebastian Vettel, but Vettel has made the overcut work, which I'm very surprised about. I'm actually very shocked about that, because I really thought from previous seasons the track record would have been the undercut would have worked an absolute tree here around Canada with the tyre wear around here. So very surprising. But Vettel, oh my god, Vettel's got an engine failure right in front of our eyes, and it's absolute calamities for the German once again in this season, once again in MyDriver. Sebastian Vettel just can't get a break here. I mean, he won his 5th World Championship in 2019, but apart from that, he can't get very much luck in this MyDriver series, and he's got another engine failure this season, and that, just like with Verstappen at USA, will that be the final nail in the coffin to confirm to us Sebastian Vettel may be leaving the Scuderia at the end of this season? As you can see, the virtual safety car is out right now, and you can see it was Antonio Giovinazzi and Sainz still out in the lead, in a net lead basically, and behind us in a pack is Stoffel Vandoorne and Daniel Ricciardo have made their pit stop. So we have stayed ahead of Ricciardo and our teammate, but we did get technically jumped there for a moment by Sebastian Vettel. But now obviously with the engine failure we're back up ahead of him. And so now after the virtual safety car on lap 12 down the main straight, we've got DRS wide open to try and catch up to Antonio Fuoco, who is alternatively also trying to catch up to Mick Schumacher. Goes down the inside, they'll go side by side through the chicane. This will slow them both up there, and so we'll go down the inside of Fuoco. Really nice tight line there to get that move done up into P4. Now can we make it onto P3, basically back where we were essentially before all the chaos happened with the virtual safety car and the pit stops there. You can just see a glimpse there of Carlos Sainz that was in second place. So Antonio Giovinazzi still doing the job out in first place of this Grand Prix. So can we try and make the move finally? Mick Schumacher wasn't able to do it in the first 2 sectors. Now down the inside into the hairpin to start sector 3 off as my engineer asked for a change of strategy. It's not quite the time yet for a pit stop yet. A few more laps to go on lap 13 here, but up into Rich Mix to try and pull away from Mick Schumacher. Obviously we know how good that monster rehab car can be in a straight line, but with some upgrades, obviously, from last race with the turbo, trying to pull away as best we can with rich mix. That will give us a nice boost, and we can eventually pull away. We're now on to lap 15 now. You can see we're in P2 at the moment, because I think it's Antonio Giovinazzi's already made his pit stop there, because you can see Sainz in P1. Meanwhile, that was Sergio Perez you saw on your screen there with the graphic out of this Grand Prix. Unfortunately, no replay camera to show you of that incident, but I'm pretty sure that was an engine failure for Sergio Perez, just like with Vettel, straight up just, out this Grand Prix due to that failure. So we come into the pits though on lap 17 now, so we've done a decent enough job on the soft tyres, but they're now starting to wear out and the pace isn't quite there. I thought basically as long as I'm catching Sainz, then I'll stay on the soft tyres, but on lap 17 we start to lose some time there, especially through sectors 1 and 2 with the lack of grip through the tyres, through the corners. So I thought it was time to come in for a set of what will be the red wall super soft tyres. So now this won't probably take us to the end of the Grand Prix. I mean, it may just about. We'll have to really see how it goes and where we are in the Grand Prix, really, to see if we have to make another pit stop this afternoon. But now we close up to Nico Hulkenberg. We're in a Haas sandwich at the moment. We tried to overtake Hulkenberg, but much like Kevin Magnussen did to Hulkenberg in the real-life Hungarian Grand Prix, Hulkenberg doesn't leave me too much room there on the right-hand side, but eventually we are going to get it with DRS right open, and we're going to get up into P7 now. So now you can see Vandoorne on the top left is the next car up ahead down the line. So this is pretty much a straight fight now between me and Vandoorne, and even though it looks like we may be making an extra pit stop compared to Stoffel this afternoon, because he got held up in all this traffic now as we look at a replay. He was previously just in a fight with Sergio Perez, and in Ricciardo, Sofia Flores, you can see, and Pierre Gasly, and also on the Haas cars just behind there on the soft tyres. Is really going to shred his tyres up, so he's not going to have a very nice time trying to make those last. And you can see there Gasly hits the wall, and I think this is what we're watching right now. Gasly with a puncher now, and he holds up Vandoorne and Perez. This is obviously before Perez was out of the Grand Prix, but you can see there it's a front right puncher for Gasly. So Ricciardo and Flores able to get away from the rest of the pack there, and Vandoorne losing a fair few seconds there, being stuck behind the Red Bull car. Meanwhile, up ahead, it's Ricciardo who gets passed down the inside. Lovely little move there actually for him, but it may not actually pull off there. It looks like Sofia's coming back at him there, so they go side by side down to the hairpin corner. I think Ricciardo's just going to have it on the inside line there, so that was Ricciardo getting up the order on the German, but that's why Vandoorne may be losing some time. So now we cut back to the live Grand Prix, and it's Antonio Giovinazzi who's hit the back of Pierre Gasly now. He's trundled around. It's taken him ages to go around the circuit with the front right puncher, and now Giovinazzi has to follow him in for a pit stop because he's lost look at that whole chunk of his left-hand side of the front wing there. Ferrari are going to be furious with Red Bull, and specifically Pierre Gasly there. So now Antonio Giovinazzi having to make an earlier pit stop than he would have wanted to. I think he was on the soft tyres, so he's pretty much going as long as Vandoorne could have gone, and so now he's onto another set of soft tyres, I think, or maybe he may have been on super softs, but either way, that's going to be an earlier pit stop that Antonio wanted to make. So that's pretty much his race lead gone then. I'm pretty sure that's Sainz being gifted the race lead, and I really just don't see how he's going to get back into this fight with the lead unless Sainz is going to make an extra pit stop like I am potentially, as we now move on later into the Grand Prix. Antonio overtaking some cars down the inside of what will be Pascal Wehrlein in the Mercedes car. Wehrlein doing a not too bad job. I think he's going to be fighting for the tail end of the points here, Pascal. But Antonio getting past him, and the next car off the road is then Daniel Ricciardo. As you can see, definitely the Ferrari does have the pace here this afternoon, but now Antonio's been dealt a very, very hard blow. This is Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, way up the road going through that last chicane there. And meanwhile, while all that was happening, we're now on to lap 21 now, a fair few laps later, and we finally close up to our teammate who's going strong right now. Only made one pit stop in this afternoon so far, whereas I've made two. So here we are, closing right up his gearbox now to try and overtake him. Now, obviously, the more Vandoorne can hold me up, the better, because I'm now making the same pit stop as he will later on into the Grand Prix potentially. So this may have to be a very hard-earned overtake if we can make it here. But here we go on the left-hand side, DRS wide open, trying to get up into P3, but Vandoorne will stick it down the inside. We have to leave him the room on the right-hand side. He's got his nose well and truly there, half his car ahead of us there, so we do have to lift off a little bit. We open the DRS now and try and get the slipstream back on him into turn 1 of the next lap, lap 22. I think that will be down the inside, very, very close stuff, trying to force him into the car, wide curbing there on the right-hand side, trying to feed it around the outside. Oh, so close there with our right front tyre to his left front. So close. Nearly made contact there. We back off a little bit in the first chicane because I want to get the speed through the chicane. He holds us up a little bit there, so he's brake checked us through that exit of the corner, so he has to take us till the hairpin of the following lap down the inside there. Gone too deep though, gone too deep. Vandoorne has got it back. We do a switchback move effectively, not a switchback I was planning on doing, but here we go once again, left hand side. We've got DRS wide open now. We're going to switch it to the right hand side this time. I want to get on the inside of him into the chicane. That'll be the easier place to maybe make make the move because we can try and squeeze him out into the second phase of the chicane. Here we go, side by side, oh so close. Vandoorne goes over the curbing there, over the bump, and cuts the corner a tad as we switch back on him, and we're still side by side as we cross the line once again, still battling away on lap 23. We're going to dive it down the inside, trying this time squeeze him out. There's more contact made there. The hand of anger goes up. This is really getting quite tasty here with Vandoorne. The first real scrap I've had with him all season long, and we out-traction him round the outside. Is he going to stick it down the inside? No, he won't. I think that may be it. I think we may have him unless he can answer anything into Sector 2. As we go into the end of Sector 1, there's chicane. You're going to go kind of park it on the apex a little bit, try and slow him down. But through this entire right-hander, the entire Grand Prix, I've not had the best traction compared to most of the AI cars. So here comes Vandoorne. Going to have the inside line for the first part of the chicane coming up, but that's going to turn to the outside, so we can just try and outbrake him here. Go around the outside, third gear, feed it through, and we'll just about squeeze him off there on the left-hander, and we're up into P3, and hopefully that may be it. Will he try it down the inside of the hairpin? I wonder. We're going to go defensive to the inside. He does outbrake us, but we've got the inside line this time, and we can just kind of open up the steering effectively and squeeze him out there. Now, hopefully, I'm really hoping that Red Bull car, I think it's Gasly, can maybe try and slipstream him and hamper him a little bit here as we can try and get away. We have been in rich mix this entire time, but obviously he'll have rich mix available. So here he comes once again with DRS, the overspeed he's got on the left-hand side. Once again, over the bump very aggressively, but this time we completely out-traction him, and we've got it up into third place. Now, I think this may be it. I think that may be it, because you can see Gasly's also now trying to overtake Vandoorne, so we have moved later on into the Grand Prix. Thankfully, that will be it, and we are going to keep that position for now. You never know. Later on the Grand Prix, tyre wear kicks in. We'll have to see. But meanwhile, back down the order, we've got a move with Romain Grosjean down the inside of Antonio Fuoco there, trying to spoil the Alfa Romeo's party. And now you've got Hulkenberg, who's on the back of him now, as Fuoco's lost a lot of speed through that chicane. And also right on the back, up his gearbox, is also one of the Red Bull cars doing very well. But Hulkenberg down the inside now, so the two Haas cars going very well in this Grand Prix now. They initially started off quite slow in the first stint there, but now looks like they're coming alive a little bit on the soft tyres. So Hulkenberg's round. There's Fuoco there, now having to defend from the Red Bull car, and not too close, but not too far behind is Pascal Wehrlein, who finds himself ahead for now of Daniel Ricciardo. So Wehrlein doing a decent job, and then behind Ricciardo is Mick Schumacher following close behind for the tail end of the points. Meanwhile, up ahead is Carlos Sainz, finally coming to the pits now from a set of soft tyres now. So what tyres will he strap on here for the last stint, pretty much, effectively? I think it may be a set of Ultrasofts. I have a hunch here. So here he comes. It is indeed a set of Ultrasoft tyres, so it looks like he'll be chasing after Antonio Giovinazzi if the Italian doesn't make a pit stop for the end of this race. We're not too sure on that, because remember, he did make that very early stop after breaking his front wing off from Pierre Gasly. But meanwhile, for our teammate, he's into the pit. So at this stage, he was running in P4 ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, but obviously the team think it's time for him to come in. He's only made one stop so far, so it would have actually been a very planned pit stop here for the second stop. For us, though, it's the question of, are we going to make a pit stop and match this pit stop that Vandoorne is doing? Because, of course, we've already made 2 stops this afternoon. This is Vandoorne's second one of the race. So as he comes out just ahead of the Haas car, I think that is, behind Mick Schumacher and Daniel Ricciardo. So Vandoorne has to do some overtaking now this afternoon, and the last remaining laps here to overtake not only Schumacher and Ricciardo, and then maybe chase after me, but we go through that third chicane on the circuit there. Now at this point, I'm really just debating in my own head in the cockpit if I'm going to come in, because at this stage it may be a case of, like Verstappen almost at Silverstone did in the real life 2017 season, maybe just making a pit stop for the sake of it, just to be safe on the tyres. I mean, I may have to do an overtake on Ricciardo potentially, but it just means I'm going to be safely home and dry for third place. It doesn't look like I'm going to be getting second or first. I think the pace that Sainz and Giovinazzi have is just way too much. And meanwhile, you can see now Vandoorne does overtake Schumacher. A bit of a lock-up there from the German, but Vandoorne does get past quite nicely. And so by lap 31, I do decide to come in now. So that's a bit of a late call, but I think it's just one that we need to make just for safety aspects. I'd rather make this pit stop, comfortably get third place, having to maybe overtake Ricciardo, potentially, we'll see, rather than just kind of nerve-wrackingly go to the end limping on a set of super softs and maybe getting a puncher right at the end of this Grand Prix, because, as I said, unfortunately for us today, it just looks like our tyre wear, both mine and Vandoorne's, just not up to scratch for the pace that the car has. Especially me, obviously, I've made one extra stop than Vandoorne. Vandoorne's just got longer on the set of soft tyres. But you can see we do come out ahead of Vandoorne, but I am behind Ricciardo as well as him, so we do have to make that overtake on Daniel Ricciardo. But as I said, I think that shouldn't be a problem. We're on much fresher tyres, and now Antonio Giovinazzi does come in, so it's not only us that have to make extra pit stops, it's also the Italian. He's in, for his final pit stop in the dying stages of this Grand Prix. So Carlos Sainz will retake the lead of the Grand Prix. Antonio obviously onto a set of ultra soft tyres. There goes Carlos Sainz through turns 1 and 2. Obviously, I mentioned that it was going to be a very big miracle if Giovinazzi was able to take that set of tyres right to the end of the Grand Prix, because he came in so early after that front wing off there. And so now as we move on to lap 33, we've only got 3 laps left in this Grand Prix, and now we're bearing down on Ricciardo like a shark on prey. And can we try and overtake him and then potentially just waltz off into the distance pretty much and just comfortably get through in 3rd place on the podium in this Grand Prix? But first of all, we have to make the move. So here we go to the end of sector 1. Going to dive down the inside. Ricciardo's going to have the outside line, which will turn into the inside for the next right-hander. So he's going to have it. We're going to have to try and out-traction him. We touch side pods a little bit there. You can see a little bit of paintwork has been chipped off that BP logo on the McLaren. We're on the outside still. We're going to switch it to the inside line though, and we brake very late there. Squeeze him out off the exit, around the outside, little tap on the rear end there, and we're round and past and up into 3rd place, and hopefully that will be the end of that. And you can see already kind of down the main straight, just off that corner really, getting the traction working quite well. And so as we wind down through the final laps of this Grand Prix, looking further back and behind us, we've got the Mercedes fighting, both the Mercedes, the A team and the B team. We've got Wehrlein overtaking Mick Schumacher there, and so doing a decent job to be ahead once again of Max Verstappen, who all season long really has struggled, apart from that win, has struggled in this monster Mercedes car, and it's just really not gone for him. And obviously that's a big reason why he's going to be leaving at the end of the season from the team he won the World Championship with last season in 2019. But meanwhile, up ahead, all kind of calm in Carlos Sainz's world. He's going to come through for the win of the Canadian Grand Prix, and that is going to be quite crucial for us and Vandoorne in the championship. He gets 25 points. Antonio Giovinazzi, unfortunately, I would have liked him to have maybe got the win today, but he comes home in 2nd place. And so with us in 3rd, that is going to be a hefty blow of 10 points to our championship. So he was already 3 points ahead of us, so that's going to be some work to do in the next few rounds. We've only got 3 rounds left in the championship, remember, so that is a very big win for Carlos Sainz. Meanwhile though, Vandoorne, this is the last lap of the Grand Prix, on the last straight into the last corners. Vandoorne just about manages to get P4. We come across the line for P3, but Vandoorne there just about getting it done to get that P4 back from Ricciardo there. So in the end, in hindsight, our extra stops didn't really matter too much, but there is Carlos Sainz's 2nd win of the season. Of course, the first win was the very first round of the season, so it's been a long time since Carlos stepped on the top step of the podium, but he's got that there today, and it's been a pretty dominant win actually, considering all things. Obviously, as I said, it would have been a lot better for us if Giovinazzi did not have that crash with Gasly and would have been fighting probably Carlos for the win there. But unfortunately, things happen, and that's happened for us. We had the pace, but the tyre wear just was not there. But guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, smash that like button. Once again, if you can try and aim for 2,000 likes, that would be absolutely amazing, guys. Let me know, as per usual, what you thought about the episode in the comments below. If you're around to then, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been over. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll leave you guys with the post-race questions. Goodbye.
A mixed afternoon for you, Aarav. You seem to have some blistering pace out there, but it looked like you and your team committed very early to a very aggressive 3-stop, which ultimately couldn't win you the race. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I think I would say that's fair enough. Yeah, the pace today, we showed it on the Ultra Softs and the Super Softs as well, especially catching Stoffel at the beginning of that stint. You know, the pace was there clearly, and we caught Stoffel quite rapidly. Obviously, as I understand, he got held up in a bit of traffic, but yeah, the pace was there. Just unfortunately, you know, like almost like Monaco, really, the tyre wear just wasn't there. Again, surprisingly, Ferrari's tyre wear was on point. Obviously, Antonio, I think, had his own issues in the Grand Prix, but yeah, for us today, yeah, a bit unfortunate, very mixed reaction. I'm very happy where the car was. It's just unfortunate that strategy-wise we just couldn't pull it out of the bag. Otherwise, we definitely had the pace to actually be there for the win. And it's a little bit more gutting for us with Carlos getting the win. Doesn't help us in the championship too much. I mean, 10 points now, so the gap's 13. So basically, we need to be on it now for the rest of the season. We can't afford to slip up here, and we need to really nail the strategies now, like we were doing at the beginning of the season. I think at the beginning of the season, we were a bit more on the ball, a little bit more with the strategies. I think we need to revert to that. We get back into that groove of that. And obviously, I think for us also, I think as a team, we're kind of hoping maybe Ferrari can be there to maybe hamper Audi a little bit. But yeah, overall, that's a fair summary of the day. Nice battle with Stoffel. I enjoyed that, and it was good to get one over him and get back over him in the standings. But obviously, we both lost out to the Audi today.
There has been some speculation and rumours about whether you'll be staying with Jaguar or not for 2021. Care to comment on that one?
Honestly, I've not really thought about it too much. I don't think the team has either. I think both of us are very committed to, just trying our best for the rest of the season. I don't think there's been any need or desire to have any talks about contracts yet. I think we're both just thinking about the rest of the season, just trying to push on. I don't think there's any need to talk about a contract quite yet. All I'll say is, despite anything, you may hear in the paddock, about getting unlucky and whatnot. Yes, I've had an unlucky season in terms of reliability issues against Stoffel, but as far as I'm concerned, the team, I know in myself that I know the team are working flat out every single race to provide me with a car, and so I'm happy working with them at the moment. It's been a great partnership, and so far so good that there hasn't been any kind of blow up with my teammate or anything like that. There hasn't been any issues with the team or any team politics, which is good. So at the moment, just looking ahead for the last 3 rounds, really. It's crucial. It's pretty much crunch time now for the last 3 rounds. So unlike the previous rounds, it is now time to actually start thinking about the championship, think about it a little bit tactically, and just not worry about any of that other stuff.
All right, thanks for your time.
All right, cheers. Thanks.